Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing the book tag. Of course, I got this idea from Destiny. If you are not subscribed to her, definitely subscribe. I love watching her videos. She posted this video not too long ago and I've been dying to do it. If my bookshelves look a little bare, it's because I've pulled out miscellaneous amount of books that I'm going to be discussing today. I will also have all of the questions linked in the description box in case you want to film this video, or if you just want to kind of browse your bookshelves, that every book that you read this year, and kind of have an idea of what was your favorite, what was not your favorite, what shocked you. Because when I was answering these questions, I forgot a lot of the books that I've read this year. So it was fun to kind of go back into my Goodreads and see what I thought about some of these books. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. Starting off strong, the first question is the most disappointing read of the year. This book, without a doubt, my first thought was Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This is a part of the Last Hours trilogy. It was the last book. I was really excited for this book. If you see, this book is massive. It is a chunky book. It's about like 775 pages, so it's definitely a big book. The best word I can find to describe this book is just disappointing, in my opinion. I was really hoping for a lot, and maybe it was just kind of the time I was reading it, like right book, wrong time kind of thing, but it was going so slow. Honestly, I can tell you bits and parts of what happened in this book, but the majority of what happened, I don't even remember. I loved the first two books. I would highly recommend the first two books. I was really hoping for it to end on such a good note, and it didn't. So that was a little disappointing for me. Sorry, I moved the camera a little bit because I felt like it was at a weird angle, but this book did not do it for me, and it was really disappointing because I love Cassandra Clare. This Chain of Thorns just wasn't a favorite of mine this year, and that's okay. Underdog book of the year. So I actually thought of a few right off the bat. The first one I thought of, The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I went into this book like, I don't know, like maybe the cover just wasn't selling it for me. I didn't really read the back. Oh my goodness. This was so shocking for me because I really didn't think I was gonna like this book going into it. 5 stars. I loved it. I couldn't put it down. It gave me all of the feelings. I did say in either like a wrap-up video or a vlog, I cried at work reading this book. I was reading it on Kindle and it just like pulled at every heartstring I had, and I would highly recommend this book. It's almost so weird to think that she wrote Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, but she did. And I just think this is a beautiful book, and I honestly don't see a lot of people talking about it, maybe because that phase is kind of over, but I highly recommend this book 100%. I loved this book. Next two books that I thought were like underdogs to me was Powerless by Lauren Roberts, only because I really wasn't seeing much about this. I only knew about this book because of Sarah. If you don't watch her, she is also a booktuber on here. She was raving about this book and I was like, oh, okay, like I'll try it. It's hard when they compare books. Like this was compared to The Hunger Games, so I was very unsure about how I was going to feel about it. Loved it. Another 5-star read, along with Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is one of the first Emily Henry books I read, and oh my goodness, it was just like life altering to me with how I see myself and I see my adult life, if that makes sense. I feel like every time I talk about this book, I always mention how there's lessons in this book that teach you about like adult life and how it feels literally to be an adult, and like having friends, and that kind of, it has that romance aspect. So it just had everything I wanted. It was a perfect summer read. I read this in midsummer, so I loved it. I sat outside, I read, flew through it. I even tabbed some of the pages, and I just highly recommend this book, and I probably will talk about it again in a future question. Favorite book couples of the year, and I have a few. I might not say names because I don't want to ruin it, so I'm just going to tell you books that had my favorite couples. First one, Happy Place by Emily Henry. Of course, this book was so cute, had me smiling, everything like that. The next one is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This one, it hit all of the ticks for me. I loved it. Giggling, happy, sad, every feeling you can imagine, I felt it in this book. Of course, I cannot say any book without mentioning ACOTAR. Not specifically one couple, I feel like just the dynamic between all of the characters I really, really love. Obviously, some of the couples I really did enjoy as well. And then lastly, I will again not say which couples, Throne of Glass. This entire series, honestly, I loved everyone's relationship, just friendships even. I adored them in this book. I was so attached to everyone by the end of it. I didn't want it to end. I don't know, I really imagined myself in this series. So, of course, Throne of Glass is also in there. The next question is favorite main characters of the year. Some of these are going to be repeats, and I will tell you why. Let's start with Crescent City. I loved Bryce. Bryce was just like the most like badass kind of character. She did not care. She was so like, the self-confidence she had, I wish I had in real life. So I loved her as a main character. Again, Harriet from Happy Place by Emily Henry. Loved Harriet. There were so many like funny moments in this book too. I haven't mentioned that, but I loved every aspect of this book. Sorry, I'm gonna keep mentioning it. Throne of Glass, I love the main characters. I feel like, okay, I know there's like a few main characters, but even the side characters I loved in this book. But I just like feel like fantasy books have the most badass main characters. And like as a girl reading that, I strive to be like that in my life. I understand I'm not like killing people and I'm not defending myself like they do in these books, but if I could, I would want to be like these people, just so you know. A book that surprised me, The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I feel like I can't answer this question without mentioning this book because I was just so shocked. And even looking back, it's still like, when I look at this cover, I obviously like understand it now, but then I really was like, oh, okay, like I bought it. I think I got it from Target, so it was like 20% off or whatever. I was seeing a ton of stuff about it, so I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. Then it ended up being on my TBR list for a month. I don't even remember the question, but I was like, okay, like I'll read it. It didn't seem like it was gonna take that long. It's 400 pages roughly. And I was so shocked by how much I so enjoyed this book, and I will always recommend it. I feel like this is kind of a different kind of style too, because it's military kind of romance kind of thing, if that makes sense. I don't want to give away too much because I went into it with no expectations and I felt like I loved that I did that. The other book that really surprised me was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I, again, was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna really vibe with this. It was kind of more magical than fantasy, if that makes sense. So going into it, was kind of unsure. I think it was a bit slow for me in the beginning, and then I sped through it. I pre-ordered the next book. It left on such a big cliffhanger too. I definitely am gonna go back and read like the last few chapters just to jog my memory a little bit before I read the next book, but this was definitely a shocker as well, and I'm glad I read it. Next question is favorite author I discovered, and honestly, I could say so many because the amount of genres and authors I tried this year, I'm so proud of myself because I really went out of some of my comfort zones with some of the books, but by far some of my favorite authors were Lauren Roberts. Love her writing style. It really flew by and the way she wrote was so beautifully written. I loved her writing and I cannot wait to read more from her. Another one, thriller-wise, was Riley Sager. I tried his books for the first time and I actually read 3 this year. I love his thrillers. They always have me guessing. I never know what's happening and maybe I'm just a little dumb sometimes and that's okay. But They baffle me, and I love his like writing and thriller books. I cannot wait for new releases. I can't wait for more books to come out and to read them. And then lastly, a different kind of genre, again, Emily Henry, not specifically like Happy Place because it's just the author, but I read this one in Beach Read and I loved it. I have heard a lot of like hit or miss things about people we meet on vacation and stuff like that. So I don't know if I want to read that one, but I will definitely be reading her new releases and I hope I enjoy them as much as I've liked her other books that I've read. We're gonna fly through this question. Happiest read of the year. Happy Place. Of course. I was so happy in so many of these books, but like happiest, like sunshiny book, I would have to say this or Beach Read, just because it really gave me that like summer happy, relaxing kind of feeling. So definitely those two. Most frustrating read of 2023. I actually have 3 of these, which is kind of annoying. But the first one, which I mentioned, was Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This was just frustrating in every sense possible. Once I got towards the end, it was almost like I just want to get through this book. I do not want to read it anymore. Similar feelings with the next 2 books I'm going to mention, which are A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. So again, I tried another book by Rebecca Ross, which wrote Divine Rivals. Same feeling. This book took me forever to get through. I know I had a vlog during that like time when I was reading this. I was struggling. I was like, oh my gosh, I almost DNF'd it. Like I didn't even want to finish it because it was so slow. I was confused. I couldn't tell you what happened. I have some like snippets in my memory of what happened. The cover, stunning. I love the cover. I just didn't like the content within the book. And then next, Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This was a recent read. I read this last month. Not it for me. It was, I think I needed to read the back because I did not enjoy the plot at all. Was there a plot? I don't know. The romance I didn't even really enjoy. It was really short, felt rushed. Yeah, just wouldn't recommend any of these in my opinion. But am I glad I read them? Yes. But will I think about them ever again? Probably not. For best adaptation of the year, I really have not read any books that I have watched TV shows with. Like I've watched The Summer I Turned Pretty, but I haven't read the book, so I can't really say it was a good adaptation. Daisy Jones and the Six, didn't read that book, so I haven't watched the show for that. And then also Shadow and Bone, I have watched the first season, but I haven't read the books. So I can't really answer this question because I have no idea if they were good or bad. Do I want to read some of those books? Absolutely. I just haven't yet. The next 2 questions are the longest book I have read this year, which was Kingdom of Ash. This was roughly 900 pages. Did I fly through it? Absolutely. Would I do it again? Honestly, yes. I was dead. I was dying in this book, emotionally. That's all I have to say, okay? Shortest book I read was The Housemaid. This was 325 pages. Very different. It looks like longer, but it's really not in any comparison to Kingdom of Ash size-wise. The next question is favorite covers of the year. I feel like I'm a huge cover person, so I could name 10 books that I love the covers of, but I just picked the top 3 favorites that first came to mind. The first one I actually haven't talked about, but I actually really enjoyed this book, and that is Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. I don't know how to say her last name, but look at how pretty. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I love this color. One of my favorite colors ever. The next book is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Again, I love the pink flowers and how this cover looks. And then lastly, unfortunately, A River Enchanted. I also really loved the cover of this one. I also liked Love in Other Words, Happy Place, you know, Beach Read. I loved all of those books, but these were the first three that I thought of that I really loved. Next is a book that I have not stopped thinking about, and 100% House of Sky and Breath. This book, no words. I still don't have any words. This book just shocked me to the core. I don't know. I haven't stopped thinking about it, and I won't until I get that third book in January. And then also, oh, Kingdom of Ash. I feel like this book also altered my entire thought process of reading. All of the events that took place in this book, I was just beside myself. So these are two books 100% that I have not stopped thinking about. Obviously, there's more books that I could name, but these are the top two that I probably think about every week, if not multiple times a week. So definitely these two books. Cringiest book of the year, without a doubt, Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This book, I found that her books, I've only ever read this one and It Happened One Summer. They are so cringy to me. I do not know why. I don't know if it's the audience she's trying to target or what, but just the things she talks about, the things she portrays through like the main characters, I get secondhand embarrassment 100%. It is so cringy to me. It's almost like I need to close this book and take a second kind of cringe. This book was definitely cringy at times. And it's the first and only book really I thought about that really cringed me out. Next is the most unpopular book that I loved, and that was The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I loved this book. I really did not see anyone talking about it. And going into my next question, which was my highest and lowest rated book, this book was actually tied with Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey, which these two do not compare to me at all. At all. This was barely a 3-star. This was a 5-star for me. So that shocked me because this was very unpopular and I loved it. It is one of my, actually it probably is my favorite thriller that I've read. 100%. So I was actually really, I wasn't expecting that. But yes, the lowest rated books that I read were these two, and my highest rated book was actually Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. Obviously, 5-star, 6-star, anything over a 5-star I would give it. Favorite quotes this year in books. This actually takes me a while because at first I wouldn't really annotate my books, and I honestly still don't. Sometimes I tab, but I haven't tabbed in like the longest time. But it means I have to go back through and like remember what favorite quotes were, like what tab color I used. But this is from Happy Place. This I actually double tabbed, and it says, "Things change, but we stretch and grow and make room for one another. Our love is a place we can always come back to, and it will always be waiting, the same as it ever was. You belong here." I love that. Let's find another. This next quote is from Throne of the Fallen, and I actually took a picture because I wasn't annotating this book, so I took a picture and highlighted this quote. It's sad, but I love it in a way. It says, "Sometimes two people weren't meant to be more than one moment," which is so sad, but it's like honestly so true too. I don't know. I know that's only like 2 quotes, but it's like taking me forever to find these. So maybe if I find some, I'll post them on my Instagram, but let me know what some of your favorite quotes are if they don't spoil the book. But I know I loved some from Throne of Glass, ACOTAR, you know, Powerless, but a lot of them are moments, and I don't know, maybe I should like do a whole video of like favorite quotes. I'm not sure. Book with the most unique concept, and I feel like a lot of the books I read weren't really unique, I guess, like plots. So I know that The Only One Left by Riley Sager was really cool. The Housemaid by Frida McFadden was very interesting to me. Just with how they kind of figured out the plot of the story, I thought was really interesting, and I haven't read a book like that. So those 2 books I feel like are the closest good answer for this question. I won't hold these next books up because I've talked about them so many times, but basically books you would reread next year or, you know, following in the future. Crescent City, Agatar, Throne of Glass, Powerless, maybe even like Fourth Wing. I don't know. I just always think about rereading books and just having a different mindset when I go back to them, knowing kind of what happens and seeing how everything leads up to that, I think would be really, really cool. But I have so many books on my TBR that I just can't do that at the moment. Reading goal reflection. So really my goal was set really, really low. I think I wanted to read like 30 books and then I changed it to 40 and then I changed it to 50 because I was like, wow, I'm reading so much more than I thought. I think I ended up only reading, the last time I checked, like 55 books, but I've read some books since then because it's like middle of December. I'm really proud of that. And my 2024 reading goal, I don't know, I might put to like 100. Most definitely, I think. We'll see. I don't want to be over, you know, ambitious, but the last question is, after 2023 reading, what are you prioritizing in 2024? And I want to say new authors, new genres, not being afraid to DNF a book. If it's just taking forever and it's not something I'm enjoying, you don't have to finish it, babe, you know? So I think those are my, you know, prioritizing goals. Just read as much as I can. I definitely will probably do a lot better just because I'm going to have 5 months where I'm not in school, whereas this year, the first 5 months of the year, I was still, you know, in my program and stuff. Now I'm not. So we'll see. I'm really excited for the next year to see what I read. I need to buy another bookshelf. Oh my goodness. It's really, really bad. It's getting really bad. I'm like hiding books because I can't fit them anymore. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. 100% I recommend doing this, even if it's just for yourself. It's so cool to look back on the books that you read and kind of readdress the feelings you had. I know it was kind of crazy to me to see even like the most popular and the most like unpopular book. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned for more videos. I am really excited for the rest of this month and then going into next year. And I hope you guys have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.